Okay. All right, we're recording and transcribing now. Apologies, guys. Thank you for your patience.
Welcome, everyone, to the January 13th, 2025 Stormwater Advisory Board. So I will call it to order at 1:06. And this should be a short meeting, so we will just get after it. We got some online and multiple in the room. Public comment period. Is there anyone from the public, online or here, that wants to talk about an issue? Not appear to be, so we will move on to the approval of minutes from the last meeting. They should be in your packet.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to Sam talking about the 2024 gift log.
Yeah, all right. So it's that time of year. We just finished up another year, which means we need to submit gift logs to city's ethics board. For that, any gifts that you've received are reported. There's a few rules that we need to follow. If it's anything over $50, 50 or more, it needs to be reported on the log. And you also cannot receive more than $150 worth of value from any one individual donor. And it's any gift that could have the appearance of affecting or impacting your decisions in your responsibilities here on SWAB. It's for anybody who is a board member who has a vote. And we covered this last year. So does anyone have any questions based off of what we did last year?
Clarifying question, Sam, do they need to turn in a log if there's zero?
Yes. You still have to turn something in. Just make sure you fill out the top of the log with your signature, name, date, etc. You can either, if you're here in person, you can just fill it out there in your little folder and give it to me at the end of the meeting. Or online in the Teams meeting, there is a gift log for you to download. And I also sent an email today with the gift log if you'd rather just download it there from the email. Yeah, and if we could just get those in at your earliest convenience, just because we're entering a new year here, and Ethics Board would like to get those back. Yeah.
Perfect. Any more questions for Sam?
Are you able to do those as a e-signature?
No. But what you could do is, I think a few folks last year actually just printed it out and signed it with ink and then scanned it and sent it in. That works as well, but I just don't have a way to docu-sign it.
All right, our next agenda item, Mr. Joe Hickle, 2024 offsite BMP.
Thank you. Sam, do you have the PowerPoint up for people on?
Yeah, it's in the group here. Hold on. I can figure that out.
Yeah, we want got it. If you don't have it.
I just need to get to, it's been a while, guys. I'm so sorry.
If you go right next to the leave button and share your screen,
Yeah.
if you share the screen option, it'll just show them what we see on the screen, and then you can open up your presentation.
Yeah, it
Because
just,
the presentation was right below where
it
you were at.
was. It was. Okay, perfect. So let's get back there. Under sharing.
You go, I think maybe in the meeting
Right.
chat there.
We're right down. Yeah.
Oh, boom, there it is. Yep. Yeah, I just uploaded there. Perfect, this is it. Okay.
Is everybody online seeing that?
Are you guys
Yeah.
able to? Yeah, awesome.
I go to the next slide, Sam. Because we had this meeting coming up, we just wanted to compile data to date. This data I have is as of the end of December last year. And again, reminding you that the OBMP, we use that acronym now, standing for the Offsite BMP Program, allows developers to save on stormwater management costs and encourages farmers to convert to no-till. We had done an analysis on allowing retroactive acres into the program and found that that was possible. To date, we've had 0 apply, but I suspect more will apply when it comes time for their biannual inspection. Next slide. Some of the numbers, again, this is through the end of December. 1,806 acres of permitted development have enrolled in the program. That's at an average rate of about 193 acres per year. You'll recall we guessed 200 acres per year back in 2016 when we wrote the program. And I did a presentation and presented that. And I said, so do you think we were lucky? And then I immediately said, no comment. What a bullseye hit. The offsite program account balance is currently, with everything paid that we're trying to collect, about currently $35,500. And then that's the bottom of the curve. It's increasing annually from this point onward. Go on the next slide, Sam. Into the future, the sediment credit years remaining currently is about 8 years. What that means is if we did nothing with this program and it continues to grow at the rate that I showed you, it would take 8 years before we'd be out of permit compliance. Our number of no-till acres needed is currently about 452 acres, and we have 835 in place. So we're good to go. We will contract for more acres probably in about 4 years. What we try to do is let our sediment credit balance start out at a 10-year period and let it decline to a 5-year period. And at the 5-year period, we're saying, let's get more acres so we have no threat of any permit noncompliance. We paid back from the $60,000 loan to the city, $43,540, and that loan will be done by 2027. They're right now accounting stealing $5,000 a year from me. So whenever that happens by 2027, that original loan will be repaid in full. That's it. Any questions?
You're paying $5,000 a year to the city to repay the loan, but we are accruing money in that account.
Yes.
Good.
The accounting department or some cross department of the city originally took out a $32,000 payment. And then subsequent to that, they're taking out approximately $5,000 per year. So by 2027, that'll be our last $5,000 draw and the loan will be done.
And in your folders, there is a little kind of brochure for the OVP program. The numbers on there are out of date because it's from 2023, but K-State was kind enough to create that for you all. So just a little reminder of everything the OVP program does and the improvements it's made to pollution control and all that.
Any questions for Joe? Hearing none, we will move on. So we have a late entry. We will come back to the public comment period. And at this time, we will open up public comment. So if you would, please state your name and address and say.
Good morning. My name is Johnny Rothwell, 1169 North Bracken Street, Wichita, Kansas, 67206. I'm on my neighborhood HOA, Whitetail, which is in northeast Wichita, 13th and 127th Street, the nearest intersection. We have ponds in our neighborhood. They're developed by Ritchie Development, the developer of our neighborhood in the mid-90s. And there's 3 ponds. One is in really good condition. One we paid in like 2018 to pull the sediment out of. And with the third pond, we have not pulled the sediment out. And it's essentially filled in. It's super shallow water. Algae blooms every year because it's so shallow. We have estimated it's about a $200,000 project to remove the sediment. But these ponds, if we pull up your maps of our storm sewer system, that's where all of our sewers flow into. They flow into these ponds and then leave our neighborhood via those ponds, a drain in the pond. We attempted in 2024, early 2024, to work with someone in the city to have the city work with us to essentially manage the project of excavation and shoreline restoration, and then apply the cost to the homeowner's property taxes as a special assessment. That way, the HOA isn't trying to collect approximately $200,000 from all of our residences all at once. It would give people the option to pay it off as a special assessment over 20 years or pay it in full. And we wouldn't have to go around trying to collect and be a debt collector. So we had some problems with that, but then whoever our contact was, they said the legal department wouldn't allow it because not every household drains into that pond. Some drain onto K96 versus the pond. And so they said we wouldn't be able to do the special assessment for the entire neighborhood, even though everyone in the neighborhood is in this HOA association, and the HOA association is in charge of maintaining these ponds. It's $200,000. So we wanted to make one last attempt to try to resurrect that effort, to try to work with the groups such as yourself to see if there's a way we can funnel the project through the city as a special assessment to the neighborhood, and accomplish it that way versus trying to go knock on our neighbors and try to get everybody. We have just over 200 households. So we're looking at $1,000 HOA assessment, which, HOAs do assessments, which is fine. But this is for our stormwater system. And it's a really, really large sum. And we thought, gosh, it sure would be nice if we could do it as a city property tax special assessment. And that way we aren't trying to collect the dollars. And so I'm here to request feedback. If that's just a total pipe dream, no way. Or if that's actually something we could do and maybe be a pilot project for other neighborhoods to work with the city to manage these ponds and our stormwater system that so many of them have throughout Wichita. I yield my time.
Are you working, sorry,
Yep.
are you working with any specific council member on this?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
You've just gone through Public Works Department.
Right. And they said, hey, we have meetings and you can, at least mention it here. So.
Do you know who you spoke with in engineering?
Oh, gosh. See, I'm sorry. I'm not 100% prepared. I could probably find the email. It was the lady, had a couple of emails, spoke with her a few times. We were going on and on. It was like things like waiting on legal, kind of kicked the can down the road. And finally in June, it's like, no, they said no. Legal said no, so we can't help you. And then we left it. And then I had another situation in our neighborhood and I found this group and thought I'd just come at least try to make a pitch to see if we can't resurrect this before we try to go somehow convince people to write us $1,000 check, so. And that's the funny part, this pond, if I pull, are we able to pull up Google Maps by chance and search on, Northeast Wichita, 1327? So there's 3 ponds, like this third pond in particular is actually like, there's no like public access to it. It's like, there's some homes that back up to it. So a few homeowners enjoy this pond, but like most of the neighborhood doesn't even know it's there. And so it's been a really tough job trying to convince folks, hey, you know this, okay, I think you're getting closer. Yeah, just north of Crest, right there. So if you zoom in a little bit, here we go. Yeah, right in this area. So where'd you go? Yeah, keep going. There you go. Oh, you were there. Yeah, go south. Go south. 13th, just south of 13th, right there. Right there. You went a little far.
Go to the intersection.
Keep 13th in view.
Right
Okay, there you go. So this pond, we dug that out in like 2018. We paid for that. This pond's in good shape. Yeah, these 2 ponds feed into that pond. That pond exits, goes under 13th and then enters the creek. All these households funnel in here. There's some households right here, this very, very south end. These households feed on the K96, but all this development, they all feed into there. And this pond is tucked away behind all these residences. No one even knows it's there. Like most residences don't even know that pond exists. However, it is completely filled. It's like got like a foot of water. It flows under the street into that pond, and then there's a dam, right? There's a little exit dam there. And it exits underneath 13th. But we've had bids from some excavators. I mean, yeah, with the shoreline restoration, it's going to be a $200,000 project. And it's like, okay, you know, we could try to be. I call the residences in my HOA when they haven't paid their little HOA bill, and it's hard enough to collect on that sometimes with folks. And the idea of trying to get over 200 people to write me $1,000 check is, you know, that's going to be a big ask. But I thought, gosh, it would be great if it was just on the property tax, and they can let it ride for 20 years if they want, or they can, you know, pay it off in full. I thought, surely we're not the only neighborhood in this predicament. Our neighborhood is now 30 years old, you know, and it's time to dredge some ponds. Any questions, comments on whether this is something that can be done?
What's your current monthly HOA fee?
Our annual fee is $860.
What I've seen on a lot of developments is that the HOA looks at a, say, 3 or 4 or 5 year plan, and then they start to collect the money in advance. And so instead of $1,000 at one time, then you spread that out, say 200 over 5 years. And then when you get to your 5th year, then you complete the work. So I've seen a lot of HOAs do those types of programs and have that be their funding mechanism. Because I'm city staff can talk about this, but I'm unaware of any HOAs that have tried to do this through the city and then put it on specials. So I don't think that there's from what I know, a process, or I haven't seen one for this.
Yeah, it's our understanding when we were talking with the city that we would be piloting this for sure.
I'm Don Henry, I'm Public Works and Utilities. I'd be interested in reviewing legal's determination on it, because I'm afraid the issue is more in line with it would be expending public funds to make a private improvement or improvements to private property. That may be where the issue is, because if it qualified for public improvements, and, you know, defining a benefit district to tease apart who would receive the benefit and who wouldn't, then it would be split among each party that received the benefit. So I think it's more of a concern of the ponds are privately owned, and how do you expend public dollars to make improvements to private property, even though it's paid back. I'd be interested in the law department's determination and what the details of that are.
Right.
Do you areas or reserves, and the
So-
covenants are usually written so everybody participates in the
Right,
cost
so-
of maintaining the reserves.
In our covenants, yeah, we are charged with the maintaining of those 3 ponds, yes.
Sounds like if you did a 5-year plan, in 5 years, you might be able to turn that into a playground the way it's silting in.
Right, yeah, that certainly has been offered up to the dismay of those who live behind the pond, yes. Yeah, I'd have to go back and circle back with the legal determination, but yeah, the line we got was, well, we can charge some of the homeowners, but not all of them, because not every single house drains into those ponds, even though they're all incorporated in the HOA, you know. But the 5-year plan, no, I'm sure, I think that's a good idea. I know we're allowed to raise our dues by 10% a year.
But I think
Thanks.
this is more called on the Public Works. I think I remember looking at the plat on this one,
Mm,
and the plat language says that it's the responsibility of the HOA.
mhm.
So therefore, that would, like what to Don's point is, that benefit district, if that is owned by the HOA, then that would be the entire HOA. It wouldn't be because these people, run off towards K-96. So
Right,
kind of like Don, I'd be interested to see what legal had to say
okay.
on their piece, because it's public dollars for private property, and they really don't want us to do that.
But
Yeah,
even though it's part of the stormwater system for
It's a privately owned facility for detention, drainage and detention in that area. It's connected to the public utility.
Right,
It's not part of the public utility.
Going back to that 5-year idea, that most covenants permit the association to borrow money,
right.
and you possibly borrow the money to do it, and then have a 5-year plan to pay it back based on
I'm assuming,
year bite or whatever.
I'm assuming you've come to the city though, because it's a lot cheaper to finance a project like this through the city than it is to finance it through.
Yeah, we really did, we wanted to avoid, taking out a loan ourselves for certainly. And it's just a matter of collecting.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, at least it's on their property tax, and, we don't have to try to be debt collectors. We're all volunteers. So like trying to be a debt collector is no fun with your neighbors. So, okay. So what I'm hearing is follow up with the law determination, 5-year plan with suggestion. But so what I'm describing is kind of uncharted territory. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're up against some state statutes on.
Yeah, there has been some discussion if wanting,
There's one example at Hampton Square and Prairie Point Edition. Those detention ponds out near Mays in northwest Wichita had some erosion issues. It wasn't a pond dredging opportunity, but it was a bank stabilization issue, which they special assessed in 2015, about 9 years after the development was initiated. And they're still paying specials on those. I was looking on a single landowner for about $115 a year. They're still paying special assessments, but that is not a dredging. It was a rock project. But again, to what Gary O'Borney stated, I know the development that I live in saved money for a few years and then had a $600 special assessment to all the homeowners, and was able to achieve what needed to be done.
any thoughts of trying to create a special assessment district, standalone, not connected to the city or anything?
What would that be?
Well, like under state regulation and stuff, I'm on a drainage board out in northwest Sedgwick County, and it's a special assessment district, and there's property that's legally described, and it's within our district boundaries, and all those properties get assessed for the maintenance of the ongoing system that's been there for 70 years. And it's a special assessment thing. It comes through the county spreads it on property taxes every year. You pay so much per acre. And it goes to this one entity, and county's not involved, city's not involved, state's really not involved. It's a local governing body, but it's a standalone deal. And I don't know if there would be an avenue there for you to explore to create a special assessment district. You could then carve out people who are draining across the road the other way, wouldn't have to be assessed. It wouldn't have to be tied to the HOA. It might duplicate most of the membership,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you could define your own boundaries and assess according.
And it would be through their property tax
Yeah,
bill?
yeah. This is spread to the property taxes every year.
Yeah, I think, again, it'd be the establishment of the special drainage district.
Yeah.
There's a handful of them throughout Sedgwick County.
Yeah,
How do you apply for that? Like, who do you go to apply for such a thing?
you'd go through the state DWR, I suppose, to start with planning.
They need to get every resident to sign off on creating it.
I honestly don't
Don't
know.
know.
There, I don't think, one's been established in
Years.
quite some time.
Yeah.
They were more common, especially when, you had some developed areas, that had not yet been annexed into the city of Wichita, especially cases where it made sense because there had been quite a bit of investment in a localized area, but, you had not had that pulled into a city to have the higher standard of
The
service.
Riverside Drainage District was established in 1905,
Right.
so it's been.
So those folks in that area pay a little.
They pay a little and,
And
yeah,
that's in the south part of Wichita.
Yeah.
It runs from about 235 down to the South Sewage Plant.
Does anyone have like a sticky note or anything, like make a note of who I would contact and maybe?
I'll let you borrow a piece of paper.
Yeah. And what, so who would I reach out to again?
Yeah.
Michigan's Department of Agriculture, Division of Water Resources is where I would start.
And,
And there's,
and I to establish a.
Special drainage districts.
yeah, special drainage district. And there's 2 or 3 ways of doing that. There are different ways of funding.
Right.
Some of them are ad valorem, and like the one.
And so, for instance, everyone in that district pays a little bit each year on their property taxes,
Mhm.
and they hold that money until until a project needs to be
When the
completed.
project needs to be done, the board goes to the county and says, we've got X amount of dollars we need to expend. The county cuts the check.
You do an annual budget just like a township or a city. You
Okay.
know,
That may be the answer you needed right there.
But those are all financed internally by their own district, right? Not by necessarily the county.
They are,
Yeah. The county just functions as a collector of the
Collector.
taxes and a dispersal of it. We get a big chunk in January and then a smaller one and some carryover in June when people are late paying or whatever, but.
I don't,
And we were doing typical township thing. We're like 3 or 4 years out on our budget projections and applying and all that. So
is there an intention that those go on in perpetuity or is they,
Typically, yes.
typically,
that's one hang up is if it's for an individual project. I'm not sure if that would pass the rules for that type of a district, which would in general get you back to.
Because in theory, I mean, those ponds are gonna need to be dredged every 25 to 30 years. So I mean, it is.
In theory, you could go.
For the
on
project, you
it.
can reduce the fee and just plan for once every 20 years or whatever.
Right.
That life cycle.
our district was actually created on a 25-year budget because that's what the initial bond issues would pay off at. And by the time that date rolled around, we, the collective intelligence had forgotten that it was dropping dead after 25 years. And suddenly we found ourselves, we actually were out of, expired. So we had to redo it. Well, when we redid the whole, permitting process, we did it in perpetuity. So.
Okay.
I didn't want to deflect the issue, but I just thought it was
No, it's a.
a possibility of just create a standalone deal and don't mess with the city and the county, other than the county helps you with spreading the taxes and collecting them.
Right. And they.
You can do it either on a ad valorem as to what the property is worth, or in our case, we do it on a per acre basis. That we're so flat and poorly drained that they decided every acre would benefit equally with every other acre. So each acre pays. Your taxes is based on how many acres you own, but it also has the other wrinkle that's been tested in the Supreme Court years ago and approved was that each acre has a vote. It's not a one man, one vote deal. So, you know, if you're paying a big chunk of taxes because you own the big acres, but you're getting the big benefit, then you get the
big vote.
you get the big vote, yeah.
It's like special assessments when they're spread based upon frontage on the property or.
Right.
And then the other avenue, I think that it would be worth checking into what the legal opinion actually stated.
Yeah.
Because if there is some, you know, not an attorney, but if there's some rule that says that there has to be a direct benefit to the property that's being assessed, and then you have to exclude, that may be a limiting factor in using special assessments going through the petition process.
And that's what they, what they explained to us, yeah. So, yeah. So I never saw the actual opinion, that's just via email.
Right.
So,
They're okay with the petition. They're just not okay with your guys' benefit district being as large as it is.
yeah, right. I think that was the issue. And therefore, you know, 40% of the homes weren't going to be assessed, and that was just going to raise the bill for the other 60%. So issue. Well, I appreciate the info, everyone. So I appreciate it.
Good luck with your project.
Okay, we're on the last one, action items for next agenda. Sam, do we have any action items or anything for next agenda, or does anyone else have any?
This time, I mean, as far as board goes, operationally, you know, we're good as far as sworn in. We're half a year to 2-year terms. Got the gift logs, of course. But that's all that I've got from a liaison standpoint.
Good. If anything comes up, just let me or Sam or anyone else know, and we will put it on the next agenda.
We are continuing to monitor the offsite BMP program. We'll do that report in the future. There may be some additional marketing materials that are being developed that could be geared more towards how other communities could set up the same.
With that, at 1:38, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Gary.
If anybody wants to turn their logs in, you can do them now.
Sure.
Yeah, so
That's what I can get yours as
well.
That's fine.
There's two subdivisions, in 2015, they the stormwater drain rate every year.
Best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.